let's get this self-reflection out of the way. I have got a non-alcoholic, well, not non-alcoholic, low-alcoholic beer. It is Ghost Ship Beyond the Pale Ale. I don't know if it's any good. I don't know if the company's awful. I don't know. They might be, but we're gonna try it out and we're gonna see if it's any good. Expert pouring. If there's one thing people say about me, it's that I have poured a beer into a glass before. Oh wow, the lighting really changed mid-beer pour. Okay, well, that's gonna go over there. Cheers, everyone! It's been 4 years of this! Oh yeah. It's good. It's actually really good. Fuck. As I just said in that unnecessarily complicated intro, I've been doing this for 4 years. The time has absolutely flown by, and on screen right now will be some moments that have stuck out to me from a bunch of videos. Looking back at some of those very early videos that some of these clips will be from is tough. Not just because the person I was back then is gone and was really sad and kind of awful, just sort of necessarily gone, but also because I don't know how I lived in that tiny flat during lockdown. Things have definitely changed over that time. I've gotten better at this, I think, and yet at times it's felt like I've had to put in a lot of effort just to stand still. Regardless, I want to open this video with a positive thought before I let you in on some of the thoughts that you're not allowed to have as a content creator. God, I hate that term. I loved every one of these videos that are in this montage at the moment. Every single one I made at some point, I loved them. And I'm so happy they're out there, and you might be about to ask, even the ones that did terribly, especially those ones. Every single one of them was at least felt like a completely necessary step in me learning how to do this. And I'm still learning, but sometimes it can feel like you're learning for nothing. And that's kind of what this video is about. The process of learning and figuring out what I actually want from all of this. It's a question that haunts me when I'm up late at night writing scripts or researching or reading books. Why do I do this? At the start of the process I went through in making this video, it was kind of hard for me to give an answer. Why do I do this? Especially when at points it's felt as if I've failed. And I don't say that to ask for sympathy or lots of comments telling me, oh no, you haven't failed, don't worry. It's not a rational feeling. It's like my fear of flying. There's nothing anyone can say to soothe me. I just need to get on the plane and arrive safely. There's a problem that I have, and it's a problem of perceived expectation. The way I feel about all of this is that to express anything other than gratitude is frowned upon on YouTube from the creator's side of the equation. We must always, no matter how small the achievement, act as if it is the greatest gift that has ever been bestowed upon us. And I get why that's the case, and I don't want you to think that I'm not grateful. This is part of a confluence of things that make my life now so much better than I imagined it would have been 4 years ago when I started. I was depressed, unemployed, I was at the start of a long process which has led to me getting my life back on track, finally. Only took me 4 years, you know. That being said, and I'm aware this isn't what you want to hear from me, I came into this exercise thinking I hadn't achieved what I felt like I deserved to achieve. I remember one post from some other YouTuber who I can't remember who it was, and this isn't really about them, obviously, who said something to the effect of, the YouTube algorithm is really good at connecting good work with the audiences that appreciate it, or something to that effect. And you look at channels that just do like AI slop content farming shite that gets so many views, and then you look at your own channel not doing as well, and you can't help but think, what the fuck are you talking about? I suspect part of it is that once you've made it, whatever it means to you, then it can feel like that's how it works. There's a tension in my own catalogue of work that speaks to this. My most successful video is the one about the most overdone topic on this website. It's a video essay about Fallout. It wasn't even my best work, if I'm being honest, and yet there it is, over 35,000 views, mocking me. and we'll be talking a lot about this video, it turns out. You look at people who I consider friends' channels, and you look at their earliest videos, and they all have such absurdly good numbers on them. They all did so well, while mine languished. And there's a friend who's also celebrating their 4th anniversary on here, or at least was recently, and they have over 10 times the subscribers I do. And you can't help but wonder, what's wrong with me? These thoughts come and go, but they're never much more than just sort of like a nagging thought on the edge of my mind, but they're still there, and I'm not proud of it. I don't like that side of me. I always try to project the attitude that, the numbers don't matter to me, it's the opportunity to express myself, and yeah, that is what I enjoy about this. But everywhere you look on here, there's a number, right? There's metrics, there's just so much, and it can overwhelm you if you're like me. I remember when I was young, like a little kid, I would get super competitive with my friends, and it would result in like escalating stakes and tensions, and of course eventually I came out on the wrong side of these things, and it really wounded me in that childish sort of pouting way that passes in 5 minutes when your friend comes over and asks if you want to play again. Of course I do, right? And that's kind of what it's like with YouTube. I keep coming back for more. So my parents did see this in me, and they gave me the best advice I ever got that allowed me to push that sort of competitive streak away and these thoughts away. And that advice was, the only person you need to compete with is yourself. I didn't see it at the time, but it was good advice, just not for me at that time. So if my parents are watching, you were only a couple of decades off, but thanks nonetheless. With this feeling of failure, of resentment, of frustration building, I felt like now was a time to look back and think about what I've done on this channel and use what I learned to chart a new course. You'll understand why that's funny a bit later. Or maybe the same course, who knows what I'll find. This is going to be a really different video to what I usually do. It's going to be a lot of self-reflection, a lot of remembering things that maybe I'd rather have forgotten or have just forgotten because it fell by the wayside. And yeah, there's going to be statistical analysis because YouTube is such a metrics-driven website. Literally, like, when you watch a video, you are confronted by metrics. Never mind if you're a creator, that it would be negligent for me to just do this by vibes, even though that would be much easier and probably a much more entertaining video. But yeah, that's the pitch. Spreadsheets and sentiments, everyone. Let's get into it. And once again, cheers for 4 years. What is my goal in this exercise? Well, it's to solve two distinct questions I have coming into this. Did I fail in the past 4 years to achieve what I wanted to? And what do the numbers tell me I should do next? I guess there's also a question about how I feel about it, but that's sort of going to be underpinning the entire thing. And I guess also, like, how did I do generally? And what my best videos are. There's a lot going on, actually, it turns out. So how do we do that? First of all, I need to be able to see what's succeeded and what's failed, which means there needs to be a way to compare all of these videos. Handily, for our first method of doing this, YouTube has given me the perfect set of metrics to analyze. If you don't upload videos to this fantastic and definitely fair website, you've probably never seen this before. YouTube presents 3 basic metrics to you that it tries to draw your attention to whenever you release a video, which means it's reasonable for me to interpret this as the metrics that the website at least wants me to look at in order to determine at a glance whether a given video has succeeded or failed and what I should do and what I shouldn't do. These metrics are views, impressions click-through rate, and average view duration. Views are pretty self-explanatory. It's what you're doing right now. Impressions click-through rate is also pretty simple. So when YouTube shows you a video on the home page or in recommendations, that's an impression. And this number represents the rate at which people click on the video when they see it. By definition, this can't include the rate at which people click on the video when it's posted on like Blue Sky or Discord or an old forum. It's purely an on-site metric. Average view duration is also simple. How long does the average viewer... Now, this will be a relevant point later, but but I'm going to guess this is the mean viewer, watched the video. These make a lot of sense for YouTube to push onto you as a creator. More clicks, more views, more time on a video means YouTube makes more money, and so content that does better than your usual content is what YouTube will want to push you towards. Now, some of you may have noticed some issues with these metrics, which is why this is just stage 1 of the analysis. So I want you to hold your questions and comments until we get to stage 2. As a starting point though, and as a way to understand what YouTube wants from me, or at least claims to want from me, collecting this data for every video seems an obvious place to start. So I did that. For all 78 videos, all of the data was collected on the 1st of February. I also categorized the videos just in case there's some kind of pattern that emerged and it might be relevant later, or it might just be for my personal amusement. Who knows? I'm not going to make this super statistics heavy, but I do have to explain certain choices in how I analyze this. In order to make a comparison, I've decided to rank each video in each statistical category. That means that each one has been given a ranking from 1 to 78. This serves 2 purposes. It means we're not giving undue weight to massive outliers, which there is one very easily noticeable one, and it's an absolutely huge outlier. It's not going to be replicable for me right now. I'm never going to have a video that does that well again anytime soon, but it needs to be included in the data set, because otherwise how am I going to do this, right? And this is how I've decided to do it, so we're just going to have to live with it. The second purpose is it gives us a way to directly rank each video against each other by taking an average of where they rank. For example, if a video is 3rd in views, 6th in click-through rate, and 9th in average view duration, then it will have an average ranking of 6, and this average ranking is how we will compare the videos. The lower the average rank, the better. It's that simple. It's easy to understand, which means we'll be able to figure out what the best performing videos are, what category they belong to, if there's anything interesting there, not spoiling it. We'll be able to find the most average videos and work out what a typical Escator Crusader video looks like. And I'm excited to find all of this out. Maybe that makes me the world's biggest nerd right now, but why not enjoy what I do? Having put all of this together, what did I find? Well, it's fair to say that it wasn't necessarily what I wanted or expected in some cases, but it was interesting and maybe makes me rethink how much weight to put on the metrics that YouTube seems to want you to focus on. I know what you want, which is to hear what YouTube's metrics suggest are my best videos, and I'll give you the top 3 right now because they're not really a surprise, but the order that they're in is kind of a surprise to me. So my most successful videos in 1st and 2nd place are the 1st and 2nd videos about Keir Starmer, with both ranking really high in all 3 categories. Neither of them had a rank below 6th, which means YouTube wants me to make videos about Keir Starmer. Great. I said I'm not doing a 3rd one, and I'm standing by that, at least at the moment, but God is this making it hard to stand by it. In 3rd place is the Fallout video, which I'm not surprised by other than the fact that it's not 1st, but that's why I did this in the way I did, to minimize the impact from it being a massive outlier in terms of views. The reason it's not 1st is because its ranking on the click-through rate is 15th, unlike the other 2 that beat it that are 3rd and 6th respectively. In 4th, it's my video on leftist media, which is curious because it only really excels in one area, and that's click-through rate, where it ranks 8th. In the other 2 categories, it's 15th and 20th, which isn't bad and is above average, but I think it points to an issue that's really best summarized by the 2 videos that are tied for 5th. My video about BritMonkey and their video about the UK is tied with a video I did a while ago called Why Britain Should Be Abolished, which feels like a fun thematic alignment, if nothing else. 2 videos about hating Britain together at last. Now, this would be fine, but on the surface there seems to be something wrong with a video that got 851 views being on the same level as one that got over 5,000. So how did this happen? It turns out the BritMonkey video did especially badly in one category. The Britain abolition video was consistently above average and then excelled in average view duration. While I have my doubts about how useful these metrics are for me and what I'm looking for, I do like that if a video finds its audience who appreciates it, it gets a little boost. And I really liked that video. It was one of, in terms of like the earlier stuff, it was definitely one of my favorites. But I think my main point of surprise is just how little definition there is. Part of that is probably my fault because of the methodology I used. I flattened things so that the degree of success or failure isn't as much of a factor, just a relative ranking. But a lot of videos will be strong in a single category and just terrible in others. To give an example, for a long time, the biggest barrier for my channel was reaching 1,000 views. In fact, it's still kind of a big deal. I just do it a lot more often now. So it's a bit surprising that a lot of videos with more than 1,000 views sit in sort of the middle tier of the ranks. For example, from 40th to 30th, there are 5 videos that have over 1,000 views. 2 of them have over 2,000 views. A big part of it is that they get weaker click-through rates and average view durations, which is going to be a function of reaching a bigger audience and being exposed to more people. And to be honest, it feels a little unfair in terms of like average view duration, because some of my videos are over an hour long, and if the video is 22 minutes, then how is it going to compete fairly with that? I'll address that in stage 2's methodology, but it does strike me that the answer I get from this is that YouTube doesn't know what it wants, which is fair enough. I'm like that when I'm at the shops picking between different flavored milks, but it doesn't make it less frustrating. Earlier, I touched on the idea of categorizing the videos. I settled on 8 categories, which I'll go through now. Vlogs, which should be pretty self-explanatory. Media analysis, like the infamous Fallout video that I will never stop talking about now. Political commentary videos, like the ones I did around the UK general election. Press analysis ones, like the ones I did about leftist media. Reaction content, which again feels self-explanatory, but if you want an example, the Brit Monkey video is a good one of that. Social media analysis, like the one I did where I didn't set an endangered bird habitat on fire during a drought. Guyology, where I spend my time analysing a usually British person. And finally, I did 2 videos about sport, which both did really fucking bad, so let's just forget about it and move swiftly on. So what does well? The top 10 is dominated by political commentary, which you'd expect because it's the most common category. And so it's just had more opportunities to land a hit. So 5 out of 10 are political commentary. The second most common category is guyology with 2 out of 10. Apparently you all really like learning about guys, British guys. We love to learn about British guys, I guess. The remaining 3 are media analysis, press analysis, and a reaction video. Does this tell us anything? Well, when I look at the specific videos, it's just videos that I really enjoyed making, which is a rather pleasant thing to glean from this, which is that YouTube and you seem to want me to do things I enjoy. Thank you, by the way. Unless you want me to do things I don't enjoy, in which case, fuck off. What I wanted to do was figure out what this all tells me and to characterize my average video or typical video. But before I do the average video, I think this doesn't clarify anything for me. It feels as if something is missing from all of this. Like, on the surface, this all makes some degree of sense. But when I got these results, I just looked at them, not sure what to do with it all. It didn't soothe any of my angst about this. And it kind of occurred to me, maybe it's not designed to, and maybe it's kind of designed to increase my angst and make me feel worse. Before I present to you my most average videos, I want to show you what my typical video looks like on a statistical level and do a little bit of a stats lesson. I can't help myself, I have to do it, and plus I'm going to do a little bit of a tangential rant about like the government or anyone who presents statistics to you. When I say average video, I could do what we commonly understand as the average. That is when you add every single piece of data and divide it by the number of data points you have, which gives me an average video with these statistics. Views 1492, CTR 3.2%, average view duration 10 minutes and 34 seconds, which would give you the impression that the typical video from me does really well, considering I just said that 1K was a big barrier for me. So why am I telling you this? Because it's bullshit. Now, so these numbers aren't untrue, but there's a problem, isn't there? A video that's such a massive outlier, it's around 7 times more viewed than other videos, even like other really well-performing videos, and 2 videos that are over 2 hours and 50 minutes long, which obviously skews things in different ways. What this is my mean video. What we want, and what's more appropriate, even if it doesn't make me look as good, is the median video, whose statistics I'll reveal in a second. Before I do, let this be a lesson. When someone says average, ask them to explain which one, or you can just assume that they're picking the one that makes them look good, especially if it's the government. Especially if it's the government. Do not trust an average from a government minister. So to work out the median video, we find the middle of the data set, in our case, videos 39 and 40, and find the average of the values they have. And we do this because the data set having an even number of data points means there isn't like a an actual middle, which gives us our median in every category. So before I tell you the result, I bet you want to learn which videos are the most mid ones, right? So my most mid videos in terms of views were the video I did about the independence and the video I did about Palestine. And both are important in different ways. One might argue one is more important than the other. In terms of click-through rate, my most mid videos are the one I did about boomers and generational politics, and my video about like why comedians are all conservative dickheads now. Which, yeah, I get that those aren't like standout videos, but they did pretty solid for their time, I thought. Finally, my most mid video in terms of view duration were the video I did about Disco Elysium and my first election video, which was about the Conservative Party, which I do find surprising, partially because I thought both were maybe a bit below average, especially the Disco Elysium one. I'm glad to remember all of these videos, even if I think I do a better job of quite a lot of them now, especially the Disco Elysium one. I feel like I would definitely do a better job of that one now. Maybe one to revisit, who knows? See, this is already making me think about, like, topics and new ideas and approaches. This is not an exercise in misery. So what we get for the median video is a video that looks like this. Views 621, click-through rate 3.1, average view duration 10 minutes 35 seconds. So you can see where the main effect was with including the Fallout video in the mean. The Fallout video is such an outlier, it moves the average by more than 800 views, which is a testament to just how exceptional it is, and arguably means I shouldn't have included it in the dataset at all, which is gonna be an issue later. But also, even if you just excluded it, this is what you'd get. You'd end up with a mean views of 1051, which is still a big difference, but it's almost half as much. So I gotta say, after all of that, I'm pretty unsatisfied. None of this really speaks to why I want to do this, and I think these metrics have some obvious problems with them. So let's see if I can't make myself feel a bit better and maybe come up with some metrics that actually mean something to me. It's pretty clear that I'm not happy with the basic statistics YouTube expects you to pay attention to. They're just not identifying it for me. Mainly because if I listen to this, I'm stuck making Keir Starmer videos forever, and I'm not even gonna make a third one. Never mind make it the whole thing I'm doing here. What changes can we make to the methodology in stage 1? One might even say we need to change the things that need changing. I don't know who would say that. First, let's address views. In a way, this is the simplest metric. How many times is your video clicked on, and the loader loads, and it's the whole name of the game, right, is getting people to click on the video. The thing is, a direct comparison between videos isn't fair. If a video gets 1,000 views when I have 500 subscribers on release, has it really performed in the same way as a video that gets 1,000 views when I have 2,000 subscribers? Now, of course, there are all sorts of factors that could lead to an older video gaining views. A good example in my case is the one I did about social media and main character syndrome. It got several boosts from other creators highlighting it, which was cool of them, but as you can see from this graph, it really did mess with the views it was getting. And there's no real elegant way to account for that kind of external force, which means my imperfect solution is to say we take the number of views and we divide it by the number of subscribers we had the day before release to create something I'm calling a weighted view. A way to see if a video has gone beyond the expected audience at the time, which is, we would call, the hogs that subscribe. If the value is above 1, then congratulations, it's almost certainly reached beyond my usual audience. Below 1, then it's probably struggled to do that. Admittedly, this does ignore the fact that YouTube can provide you with a unique viewer metric that I could have just gone and got, but this is easier, and I think it reflects how I process these numbers better, because honestly, why would I dig into the YouTube metrics over and over again, desperate to figure this out? Much easier to just take the views, right? The second change that needed changing was to address the most obvious imbalance, average view duration. It's just not fair to compare my longest video, which comes in at over 3.5 hours long, to more typical videos that would sit at 40 minutes, or like the earlier ones that would be like 25. The simplest solution is to just convert this value to a percentage of total length. Because what's important to me is that in relation to the whole of the video, you're sticking around. Then I decided to add 2 new metrics and completely ignore click-through rate. The reason I'm ignoring it is that a lot of the videos crowd really closely around the median, which means that we're finding the opposite problem of the large outlier that the Fallout video is, which is where a really slight difference can really boost a video in the rankings. Like, is a video doing 0.2% better than the median really deserving of like a 30 rank increase? Who knows? The first of the new metrics will be the number of subscribers gained after 5 days. Why 5 days? Because that's usually the time by which my videos have the bulk of their views. How are we measuring this? We're taking the higher of the number of subscribers gained displayed in the YouTube analytics for the video, or from tracking it manually on the main analytics page for the whole channel. I've picked this because one of the things that signals to me that a video is doing well is that it gains subscribers. It also accounts for some of the issues with the weighted views, where if a video has perhaps not got as many views, but has got a lot of new subscribers because it was seen by an audience new to me, it might eliminate an element of imbalance there. The final stat I wanted to look at was engagement, or what I've called engagement. You know how YouTubers constantly tell you to like and comment? Well, I wanted to see whether there was any significant correlation there and throw it into the mix. So I took likes, dislikes, and comments and added them together and used that. Also, part of the point of my videos is for you to engage with them in some way. So it's a relevant metric for what I want to do here and where I get some of my joy in this from. I really do like all of the comments, except for a lot of the ones on the Crusade video. Those ones are not great. So, what did I find? An interesting difference is in the top 5 videos and which one comes out on top. This way of doing things has put the Fallout video at number 1, which is what we'd expect given it's so outrageously successful. So I already feel like this methodology is superior at this point. In second, though, is the video I consider my first proper one on the channel, Diagnosing Agrocentrism, which was really my first attempt to dive into doing this whole thing, and it was during one of the lockdowns we had here in the UK, at least if I'm recalling correctly. So it's very of its time, and I recorded it on my old laptop, and I was, I do kind of wonder what possessed me to do that. For a long time, this video reigned supreme. It took 22 videos for me to make one that got more views than it, and it frustrated me to no end in the way that the Fallout one does now. I don't know what it is, but I kind of resent both of these videos, and yet clearly, even though they're separated by almost 4 years, it's pretty obvious that they really brought the channel to life in different ways. Looking back at that video, I do cringe a bit, but maybe I missed that way of doing things, you know? Maybe there was something to it. Who knows? It was rough, honest, and really badly written and performed, but I miss it. Or maybe I just miss being 26. Who knows? In third is another old video, the one I did on the Northern Independence Party. Remember them? I don't really have a bit or analysis here. It was just something online that I found interesting. That's really it. In fourth and fifth, it was two recent videos. With my video about the woke games list, that weird Steam group where they're calling every game woke, in fourth, and the leftist media video rounding out the top five, which featured in the other one. So what I see here is that my best work was either really early, really recent, or about the Fallout TV show, which admittedly does feel like a turning point for the channel. Maybe there's some analysis that will back that up. Who knows? So what does the median video look like this time? And which videos are my most mid? In terms of weighted views, my median videos are the one I did about ecofascism during my cocktail making arc, and the one I did about John Ashworth, which aren't videos I think about very much, which I suppose makes a lot of sense if they're median, but I am glad I made them both, especially the John Ashworth one, because that has aged spectacularly well. With average watch time percentage, it's my video on AI art, which really flopped quite badly, but I guess the audience that found it liked it, and my video on parasocial relationships. Not much to think about there either, but it is interesting that so far 3 of the videos come from what I'd call like the middle period in the channel, when things really felt like sort of like running through treacle. It just felt like a slog to me. In terms of subscribers gained, my median videos were my 10th video, which was on what I call STEM brain, which is definitely on display here, and my video about how awful British politicians are. Finally, my median videos in terms of engagement were the STEM brain one again. I feel like I'm getting sent a message here. And the one about like all those British people who talk about the sensibles, we need sensible people in charge. Like, fuck off. It is interesting to me that they're kind of about the same thing. And I like how it played out like that these two were together. Anyway, congrats to the STEM Brain video for being our first repeat champion of midness. Great, thanks, I guess. Using this methodology, my median video looks like this. Weighted views 0.6, average watch time 26.8%, subscribers gained 10, engagements 70, which feels a little deflating to look at. I guess the one thing that sort of keeps me going in this is that half of the videos were doing better than this. I think the cold truth of the channel is that it had a long period that coincided with a lot of just general issues and trying to figure out what I was doing that wasn't very attractive to new viewers. That's my kind of the takeaway I'm making here. I don't know if that's true, but it seems like the easiest explanation for why the sort of middle period, as I called it, was so bad. I decided that it would be a good idea to try to see whether there were any correlations between these various metrics that were interesting, and it turns out that removing outliers from datasets isn't something your physics professors make you do to keep you busy. Before we get into that, were there any interesting correlations in the complete dataset? In the data I collected for stage 2, there were 3 interesting correlations with R-squared values that I'd considered notable. Now, if you're not a stats nerd or, whatever, I don't think it's like a really advanced statistics thing, but you probably don't know what R-squared is, and that's okay. The simple understanding you need is that R-squared is a measurement of how well a trend line correlates with the data available. So R squared of 0 means no correlation. R squared of like 0.6 would mean there's like something going on, but you're comparing things that probably aren't the only factors in that relationship. And an R squared of 1 would mean like a 100% direct correlation, like your trend line goes through every point. They are definitely connected. So 3 positive correlations, which is where the line goes up, that I found were subscribers gained in weighted views with an R squared of 0.65, which makes sense on a surface level. Views beyond the usual audience should mean more subscribers. The next one with an R squared of 0.69, nice, is engagement against weighted views, which leads to the question of whether views mean more engagement or more engagement leads to more views and a chance of breaking out of your audience. It's a bit like, or is it maybe like a bit like electromagnetic radiation, where they both kind of work together to propagate? That was such a bad hand motion. Wow. My speculation is that it's the third option, that these two tend to help catapult each other. In any case, it's a big plus for the, hey, if you're enjoying this, please like the video thing that YouTubers like to do. Even if I got scolded for saying that once, I'm serious. I once got a comment where someone got mad at me for doing that. And it's like, is this your first day on YouTube or on the internet or something? Anyway, the final and strongest positive correlation was between engagement and subscribers gained, which I think, given that we knew those other two correlations existed, makes a lot of sense. What's interesting is just how much stronger it is. Its R-squared value is 0.821, which implies that the best way you can help the channel is by liking and commenting. So get on with it. We're doing the YouTuber thing. Whew, mission accomplished. Wait. Why is there still stuff in this section? Why is there teleport? What do you mean I'm not done? Okay, something happened, everyone. I was happy to just leave this here and just leave this as a cheap excuse to plug liking and subscribing to the channel. Instead, my proofreader looked at the stats and started noticing something that was interesting. Firstly, removing the Fallout video because it's an outlier produced really weird changes to the R-squared values across both methodologies I used, which seemed to imply it made the correlation stronger, not weaker, which means it should have been included and wasn't an outlier, but it was like an inlier. I'm not really sure what it means, but it's odd for such an exceptional piece of data to have this effect. This raised a question. If it's having this effect, then does this mean that it's connecting two different regimes of behavior? The obvious step is to consider the Fallout video a line in the sand and split the dataset into before Fallout and after Fallout, which I guess is a lot like the Fallout games, actually. We did that, and what we found was odd. Taking this in the same order as before, subscribers gained versus weighted views showed that there was actually a stronger correlation without the Fallout video, both before and after, with the correlation being stronger after the Fallout video. To some extent, if the video is an outlier, this makes sense, so it seemed like nothing interesting was going on, but out of curiosity, we looked at engagement versus weighted views. Before Fallout, there was basically no correlation between these things. The R-squared was 0.24. Nothing is going on there. After Fallout, it's 0.88, a really strong R-squared that implies causation. So what we're seeing is a bit of evidence that the Fallout video changed the channel. We did the same thing with engagement versus subscribers. Pre-Fallout, there was no correlation. You liking one of my videos before the Fallout video was basically pointless with an R-squared of 0.26. After Fallout, it jumps to 0.8. Curious about this effect, my proofreader decided to combine both data sets and make some comparisons, as well as look back at the metrics YouTube wants creators to look at. In terms of the data from the first methodology, we found that after Fallout, click-through rate and views went from basically no correlation to an R-squared of 0.73. Suddenly, the popularity of a thumbnail started mattering. Almost like my channel was a normal YouTube channel because of this. So I was interested because the obvious metric for success on YouTube is the number of subscribers. And that's probably what's giving me this sense of looming failure and dread. So we took the subscribers gained and compared that to the data we took in methodology 1, pre and post Fallout. Everything showed a stronger positive correlation, if still weak in some cases, with subscribers gained after Fallout, but one in particular stood out. I don't know if this makes me feel better or worse, but before the Fallout video, there was basically no strong correlation between number of views and subscribers gained. And now I say that out loud, it does make me feel kind of sad. It kind of sucks. After Fallout, there was an R-squared of 0.73. Suddenly, views mattered and meant I'd get subscribers, and it's all because of a video I actually almost gave up on. Or at least it looks that way. Which I suppose explains why clickbait is a thing. Like, if all it takes is you clicking on a video to get you to subscribe, then that's how they're going to try and get you. Now, don't worry, I'm not about to clickbait you. It's clearly not my style. I mean, just look at how many views I get, right? The Fallout video, which really does stand alone on my channel, came at a time when I was almost going to, I don't want to say give up, but really change how I did this. You know, fewer videos, lower effort videos. It just felt pointless. I find it weird that I almost gave up on the Fallout video. It was an enormous effort, a style I'd never taken to completion before, and honestly, I thought the market for Fallout videos, especially about the TV show, would be saturated, that I was too slow off the blocks and that I just missed a wave. Turns out no, and it may have saved the channel, or at least saved me from feeling really just sort of like, what's the point about it? I have people who I'd consider friends or, you know, colleagues, I guess, that's such a horrible word, who have videos that get over 100,000 views. And you start to wonder, do I have it in me? And maybe part of why things suddenly seem to matter on the channel, you know, views convert to subscribers more, is because I go into every video now knowing I do have it in me. I feel bad because I do resent that video for standing so obnoxiously at the top of everything. It really is just like a marvel on this channel. It's really not my best work. At least I don't think it is, and it bothers me. But at the same time, I'm glad I did it. Even if this line of investigation had turned up nothing, I'd still be glad I made it, even if I'm a bit embarrassed to admit it. It was a product of passion and a labor of love. This exercise has made me think about my videos a little bit more. Some of those are videos I didn't think about in a long time. Like, I didn't think about the Britain abolition video for ages. Especially, you know, and speaking of which, just like those earlier ones that ranked well in the second methodology. It's just interesting that there's a wider variety of categories in the top 10 in the second methodology there. When I think about those earlier videos, I was doing one every 2 months, and it was really a hobby in the truest sense. There was no money involved. It was just me trying to organize thoughts about things that had gotten into my head. And to some extent, I do want to return to that, or at least, you know, I intend to try with some shorter, snappier videos that aren't 40 minutes long. I think I'm a little embarrassed by those older videos I made because so clearly, I don't know, it's clear to me that I'm depressed in some of them, and I'm clearly trying to deal with a lot of other things. But the truth is that while I didn't know what I was doing back then, and arguably I still don't, look at the state of the channel, right? I just liked those topics and made those videos. You know, even if some of my videos didn't do well, or my median videos are kind of forgettable and crap, they all started from a place of passion and genuine interest, like the now infamous Fallout video. It took me doing the most boring and stem-brained thing imaginable to get me to remember that I did love these videos at one point, and I'm kind of sad that I forgot about them. I suppose in the end they'll fall from my mind again, kind of inevitably, but I was happy to remember some of them. For a moment, it was like I was back in that horrible flat, recording on a laptop perched on a coffee table, sat on my terrible sofa that was really uncomfortable. God, I hated that flat. Have I told you all about how much that flat sucked? Earlier I asked why I do this, and I wanted to try and crystallize an answer from the stats. The truth is that it's really simple. I do this because I like doing it, and as soon as I stop liking it, I'll stop doing it. And I promise this isn't a plug, but on my Patreon it says, SK the Crusader, creating very good videos on topics that interest them. And that's what this should be. I think for a while in that middle period, as I've taken to calling it, of the channel, I started chasing things I thought might give me a launch, for want of a better term. I wanted so badly to make it, because I feel like, maybe foolishly, I have something to offer. But I went about it the wrong way. The reason I'm having more success now, it's not just because of the Fallout video's long shadow, or because people love hating Keir Starmer, although in fairness, I think there's maybe a compelling bit of evidence that both of those things are a factor. And I'm not saying it's not. That's not a factor. It's because I've gotten better at this, at presenting, at making the videos, at editing. These are all things that I taught myself or had to reach out to others to get help with. You know, I'm a really shy person. I'm not a natural person in front of a camera. For a long time, I felt kind of lonely doing this, and I do still feel lonely a lot of the time, and that's sad, but it's true. And having trawled through the stats, I get it now. I just need to make the things I'm passionate about and throw myself into these videos a bit less highly strung about whether it's going to be the one. I've had the one, and it was cool, but like, it doesn't all need to be like that. I want to, you know, at least in some way be my authentic, honest self here, and part of that is just not worrying about replicating the Fallout video. There's a melancholy I've been feeling, the changes in my personal life I'm going through, and there's a lot that's happening, and there's just a lot happening that people don't know about behind the scenes. I don't want them to weigh the channel down, but I also don't want this like incredibly mediocre past, especially apparently the pre-Fallout past, to weigh me down either, which is why I have a new avatar, I have new banners, and all of that sort of stuff here and everywhere that I am SK the Crusader, just as a way to refresh everything in my mind, and hopefully it's a bit more appealing, or maybe it'll just wind people up. Either way, right? Engagement is engagement. I guess that is the one lesson that we can say we could definitely take away from all of this. I want to make the next 4 years count and not do this again in 4 years and do another thing where I'm like, I'm sad about this, you know. With 4 years behind me, it is going to be difficult to not look back like I did in this video. I guess that's why I did it, to get it out of my system. I don't want to hide that past. Again, I really don't want to hide that past, but I do want to come at everything a bit differently. If I enjoy making something, I'll make it. And if I don't, like that long promised HBO's Rome video, which was mothballed partway through editing, I think, and also I was partway through recording, I was doing that a bit different. I just won't do it. And that being said, we do have the failed HBO's Rome video and the lessons I learned to thank for the Keir Starmer videos and the Fallout one that apparently changed everything. I would never have made those videos if I hadn't tried to make that one. When you've not had like conventional success, the thing that weighs on me in this case is the videos that I didn't make or gave up on partway through. What if they were the one, right? And look, there aren't many, but I am a little ashamed of one thing about them, which is how many were picked by patrons. I always apologize to the patrons when I have to sort of give up on making a video on a topic they voted for, because I really do want some of you in the audience who care to have some say on what I do, to tell me what you want. It's just that sometimes you have awful taste, or I just don't like a topic as much as I thought. None of you have ever given me shit for it, which is nice of you, but you know, I'm going on. Look, I asked 2 questions at the start of this video. Did I fail, and what does the data say I should do next? On the first one, the answer is a little. I can't help but feel like I wasted time appealing to a very sort of narrow set of interests when I could have not done that. But you live and you learn, and I really, this is all in the context of me feeling like I've wasted a lot of my time. But also I've enjoyed it, right? On the second question, honestly, without the realization that my proofreader had, I would be offering a big old shrug. Instead, it seems like I've been, possibly briefly, blessed, and I should strike while the iron is hot. Also, I should never talk about sports again. Message received. The headline is this: expect more from me generally, but maybe with me a bit lighter, a bit less tense. This has really been a therapeutic experience in the weirdest way, and I'm grateful you came through it all with me. And I guess one final thing. To answer the question, why do I do this? Because I fucking want to, and I love it. And that's all the justification I need, whether you're along for the ride or not. Take it easy, everyone. I'll catch you on the next one. I need to thank my proofreader / stats assistant, as I've written in these notes, who really did make this video by finding those correlations for me. So thank you to her. I also need to thank Molto, who will have made the new art for the channel and also the thumbnail for this. I also need to thank the patrons and members, but also mention that you can become a member on Ko-fi or give one-off donations. Also, you know, in the spirit of what we've discovered in this video, like, comment, subscribe, all good things. In fact, if you like, you should subscribe to make the correlation stronger. But in all seriousness, a special shout out to the top tier patrons Drone Riff Mercutio, Kersey Scheider, John N. and Liron. Absolute legends. If you want to get the videos early, if you want to vote on the topic of the videos, if you want, all sorts of little goodies and benefits, you can head over to patreon.com/SK2Crusader, or you can become a member right here on YouTube, or as I said, you can go over to Ko-fi, but no one's done that yet. But you can become a member right here on YouTube, like Nadir, Jiwa, Katie Marshall, Roger Zugi, and Scaly Bubble have. Also absolute legends. Thank you to them. Thank you for making it this far into the video. And I will catch you next time where normal service will be resumed. Cheers, everyone. Here's to another 4 years. Dink! Catch you on the next one. That is a nice beer, though. I really did like that beer.